She stood right in front of me, clipboard in hand, like she was the queen of the whole street. Her sunglasses slid down as she smirked. "You don't own this land anymore. The HOA does. We built 35 homes and you can either pay us or get out." I froze, trying not to laugh at the sheer audacity. 35 homes on my property. I had the deed folded in my back pocket, signed by my father before he passed away, but Karen acted like paper didn't matter. She leaned closer and whispered so her little group of board members couldn't hear, "If you fight me, I'll have the sheriff drag you out in front of everyone." I looked at her calm while my hands clenched behind my back. She thought I was powerless. She thought I was just some tired old man living alone on a forgotten piece of land. But she didn't know what sat behind the line of trees at the edge of the hill. She didn't know the history of this ground, and she sure didn't know about the dam my father and I built decades ago, one that controlled the water flowing straight through this valley. Karen's fake smile widened when two men in cheap security uniforms stepped out of a black SUV. They weren't cops, I could tell by the shiny badges bought from a costume store. "Arrest him," she barked, pointing at me. "He's trespassing on HOA property." The neighbors from those new houses peeked out, confused. Kids clung to their mothers. People started whispering, watching me like I was some criminal. For a moment it felt like the whole world believed her lie. That sting cut deep. My land, my father's work, my rights, and yet here I was, painted as a squatter. I took a slow step forward, locking eyes with her. "Karen, you really don't know whose land you're standing on." Her laugh was sharp, arrogant. "It's ours now, you're finished." I just smiled. Inside, I already knew. If they wanted a war over this valley, they were about to see what happens when the dam breaks. The fake cops moved closer, their hands hovering over their plastic holsters like they were in some cheap TV show. Karen folded her arms, standing tall, her voice loud enough for the crowd gathering on the sidewalk. "You see, neighbors, this squatter refuses to leave. That's why we had to step in. That's why the HOA exists, to protect you from people like him." Her words stung, but I stayed quiet, scanning the faces of the families in those brand new houses. Some of them looked uncertain, some angry. They didn't know the truth. To them, I was just some stubborn man clinging to dirt, but this dirt was my father's blood, sweat, and legacy. The taller of the fake cops stepped forward. "Sir, you're under arrest for trespassing. Please cooperate." I almost laughed. They really thought I'd buy into this little act, but before I could answer, Karen snatched the deed right out of my hand. "This paper means nothing," she snapped, waving it high in the air. "HOA rules override personal claims, everyone knows that." The crowd gasped. Some believed her, others didn't know what to think. But I stayed calm, my eyes narrowing. Karen thought she had won because she had an audience. She didn't realize I'd already planned for this moment. I pulled out my phone, tapped the screen, and held it up. On the display was a live security feed, drones circling above the neighborhood, cameras watching every corner. The crowd leaned in, confused. Karen froze. What is that?" I tilted the screen so everyone could see. "That's proof," I said slowly, my voice carrying through the silence. "Proof that every single one of these houses was built illegally. Proof that the land is mine." For the first time, Karen's smirk faltered. The fake cops shifted uncomfortably. And just then, someone in the crowd muttered loud enough for all to hear, "Wait, if this is his land, then what happens to our homes?" The whisper spread like fire. Faces turned pale. Parents held their children tighter. Doubt filled the air. Karen tried to regain control, her voice cracking with forced authority. "Don't listen to him, he's bluffing." But deep down, she knew, she could feel it. The dam wasn't just behind those trees, it was in every word I spoke. And when it broke, nothing would stop the flood. Karen's voice grew louder, almost desperate now. "These homes belong to families. We worked hard to make this community safe. Don't let this man scare you." She tried to rally the neighbors, but her tone cracked like glass under pressure. The fake cops moved closer, grabbing my arm like they actually had authority. The crowd gasped as if I was about to be dragged away. My jaw tightened, but I didn't resist. Instead, I stared straight at Karen. "You're making a mistake, and when the truth comes out, it won't just be me standing in the way. It'll be the law itself." Karen smirked again, trying to regain her footing. "Law," she scoffed. "The law is on my side." I leaned closer, whispering just enough for her to hear. "Funny, because last time I checked, impersonating an officer and forging land contracts carry prison time." Her eyes flickered, and for the first time I saw fear break through that wall of arrogance. She quickly masked it with a laugh, but it was too late. The crack was there. Then, as if fate itself wanted to rip the mask off her scheme, a black and white sheriff's cruiser rolled up, lights flashing. Real deputies stepped out, their hands resting on real holsters. The crowd fell silent. The fake cops instantly stiffened, sweat glistening on their foreheads. Karen rushed forward, pointing at me frantically. "Sheriff, arrest him immediately, he's trespassing and threatening the neighborhood." The sheriff looked at me, then at her, then down at the deed she was still clutching. His expression hardened. "Funny, because this document right here, it's filed under county records, and it says he owns every inch of this land." The crowd erupted into murmurs, gasps, whispers, fear. Parents looked at their homes like they were standing on stolen ground. Karen's face drained of color. "No, no, that can't be right. The HOA has rights. We built here legally." The sheriff's voice was cold as steel. "Lady, you've built 35 homes on land that doesn't belong to you. That's fraud. And these two clowns pretending to be officers," he pointed at the fake cops, "that's a felony." The neighbors were no longer whispering. They were staring at Karen like she dragged them into a nightmare. I crossed my arms, calm as ever. "I told you, Karen, you didn't know whose land you were standing on." And in the silence that followed, a single mother from one of the houses spoke up, her voice trembling. "If this land is his, what happens to us?" That question hung in the air like thunder. Karen's face twisted, panic fighting with rage. She pointed at me again, her voice shrill now. "He doesn't care about you, look at him, he just wants to throw you all out, he'll destroy everything you've built here." The crowd shifted uneasily. Parents held their children close, couples whispered to each other, fear crawling across every face. The sheriff stayed silent, arms crossed, watching it unfold. I took a slow step forward, my eyes sweeping over the people, not Karen. "I don't blame you," I said quietly, steady. "You were lied to, you were promised homes, safety, a future, but every nail in those walls, every brick in those houses was built on fraud." The silence deepened. I could feel the weight of their fear pressing against me. That's when Karen struck again, desperate. "And what will you do, huh?" she snapped, her voice sharp. "Take their houses, evict children, you'll be the villain, not me." I paused, letting her words hang. Then, with a calm smile, I answered, "I don't need to take anything, Karen, nature will do that for me." Her head jerked back. "What are you talking about?" I glanced toward the tree line where the dam stood hidden behind years of growth. My father and I had built it strong, but the water had been pressing harder and harder over the years, and with one pull of a lever. Karen must have seen the look in my eyes because her smirk vanished completely. "You wouldn't dare," she whispered, a tremor breaking through her voice. The neighbors looked at me, then at her, then back again. Curiosity turned into dread. I leaned in slightly, lowering my voice so it cut sharper than a shout. "Karen, you built 35 homes on my land without permission. You stole my rights, humiliated me in front of my neighbors, and tried to arrest me with actors in cheap uniforms. You thought I was powerless." I straightened up, staring at her, my voice steady as stone. "But this land answers to me, and if I open that dam, every lie you built here will be washed away." The crowd gasped, the weight of my words crashing into them. Karen's eyes widened, panic finally winning the war against arrogance. And in that moment, everyone realized I wasn't bluffing. Karen's scream cut through the silence. "He's bluffing, don't listen to him, he's just trying to scare us." But her voice cracked, and the crowd could hear the fear dripping from every word. The sheriff stepped closer, arms folded. "Ma'am, I think you better calm down, he's not the one who looks scared right now." The neighbors were no longer looking at me with suspicion. They were staring at Karen, demanding answers with their eyes. One father in the crowd raised his voice, trembling with anger. "You told us this was all legal. You said the HOA owned this land. I put my life savings into this house." Another woman shouted, holding her child's hand tight. "If this isn't your land, then you've ruined us. We trusted you." Karen spun around, trying to silence them, but the whispers had already grown into shouts. The crowd was turning against her. I let the storm build before speaking again, calm but firm. "I don't want to see families homeless. I don't want to see kids without a roof over their heads, but make no mistake, if Karen keeps pushing, this dam will open." Karen's face went pale, she took a step back, shaking her head. "No, no, you wouldn't, you can't." I pulled a small rusted key from my pocket and held it up so everyone could see. The crowd hushed instantly. The weight of that little piece of metal was heavier than her entire HOA. Karen lunged forward trying to snatch it from my hand, but the sheriff blocked her with one strong arm. "You're not going anywhere near him," he warned. She shrieked, wild and desperate now. "Do you people not see what he's doing? He'll drown you all." But the crowd didn't move. They just stared at me, fear and curiosity locking them in place. I tightened my grip on the key, looking right into Karen's eyes. "No, Karen, I'll drown you. The rest of them, they'll know the truth before a single drop touches their homes." The dam behind the trees roared louder in my mind than the crowd in front of me. One decision, one turn of that key, and justice would flow like water. And Karen knew it. That's why she finally stumbled back, her confidence shattered. I watched Karen's breath come in short, ugly bursts while the sheriff's deputies moved like a calm tide around her. Then I tapped my phone and the square on the screen lit up. My daughter's face filled half the crowd through a live feed, her voice clear. "This is live. Everyone listen." The neighbors turned to the phone, then to me. A hush fell. I didn't tell them everything before because some truths needed the right moment. "I've been waiting," I said, "while Karen forged papers, collected money, and hired actors to scare people. I recorded every meeting. I logged every illegal permit application. I sent copies to the county 2 weeks ago." Head snapped toward the sheriff. He nodded once and lifted his radio. "Detective Reyes is on his way with warrants." Karen's face went white, then red, then blank. She tried to spin a lie, but my daughter pulled up a clip on the live feed. Karen on tape saying, "We'll run the permits later, get them moved in now." The crowd saw her promise, heard the proof. A man I'd talked to earlier clutched his chest and whispered, "I've got the down payment receipts." Others shouted that they'd paid cash to the HOA. The sheriff's voice cut through it all. "Ma'am, you're under investigation for fraud and impersonation." Karen's eyes hunted for an escape. I turned the phone so the live viewers could see her panic. "You built 35 homes on my land," I said, quiet and steady. "That's not development, that's theft in broad daylight." She tried one last move, pointing at me, screaming about the dam, but no one flinched now. The real cops were coming with papers. The live stream had thousands watching. The county had already flagged the houses for an emergency title review. Karen's power evaporated in real time. Still, she wasn't finished. She spat. "You'll regret." The crowd leaned in, hungry for what would happen next. Karen's shriek echoed as the deputies gripped her wrists, but she thrashed like a wild animal. "You think you've won? You think you're the hero? I'll sue you until you're living in the dirt." Her threats cracked in the air, but no one believed her anymore. The neighbors, once silent, were now a storm of voices, accusing, shouting, demanding answers. One man threw his contract on the ground, his face red with rage. "She drained my savings." Another shouted, "My wife's pregnant, we trusted you." The sound of betrayal was louder than her screams. Karen's voice broke completely. I held up the key again, not for her this time, but for the people. "This land isn't just soil, it's memory. My father built the dam to protect it. You think I'd flood families out? No, but I will use it if I must, to remind the world that no paper, no fake authority, no HOA scam can erase real ownership." The sheriff stepped beside me, nodding. "He's right, this land is his. And all of you," he turned to the crowd, "you're victims too, but don't blame him, blame her." Karen spat at the dirt, her last show of defiance. "You'll regret crossing me." The sound of approaching sirens cut her words to pieces. More cruisers rolled in, lights flashing against the rows of stolen homes. The neighbors parted, their anger turning into something heavier, fear of what came next. One child's voice rose above it all, trembling but clear. "Mister, are we gonna lose our house?" The dam in my chest almost broke at that moment. My grip tightened around the key, my jaw set. "You'll lose her lies," I said, staring straight at Karen. "But the truth will keep you safe." Karen's eyes burned with hate, but for the first time she looked small, smaller than the storm she created, smaller than the land she tried to steal. And behind us, the water in the dam shifted, rumbling like justice waiting to be unleashed. The cruisers screeched to halt, dust swirling around, flashing red and blue. Real detectives stepped out, files in hand, their expressions carved in stone. One of them held up a thick folder, voice booming. "We have sworn affidavits, bank records, and video proof. Karen Mitchell, you are under arrest for fraud, forgery, and impersonating law enforcement." The deputies shoved her forward, snapping cuffs onto her wrists. She twisted and fought, screaming at the neighbors who once admired her. "You'll all regret this. He's a liar. I built your homes. Without me, you're nothing." But this time, no one defended her. Not one voice rose in her favor. The crowd, once confused, now glared at her with raw fury. Mothers pulled their kids closer, fathers clenched fists, and the air hummed with betrayal. I didn't move, I just stood there, the key heavy in my hand, letting her words crumble like the fake empire she built. One detective turned to me. Sir, we're going to freeze her accounts and begin restitution claims. It won't be quick, but these families will get justice. The people murmured, some with relief, others with doubt. They looked at me as if I held the final answer, and maybe I did. I raised the key once more, pointing toward the tree line. This valley remembers the truth. My father built the dam to protect this land, not to drown it. Karen thought it was her weapon, but it's my shield. I'll use it to guard what's mine and to make sure no one here suffers for her greed. The sheriff's eyes met mine steady. That's justice. Karen's final scream tore through the night as they shoved her into the cruiser. But it wasn't power anymore, it was desperation, a sound of someone who had finally lost. The neighbors turned, their eyes now on me, waiting. And for the first time, instead of suspicion, I saw something different in their faces, respect and hope. As Karen's cruiser rolled away, the valley fell into a strange silence, broken only by the hum of insects and the faint rush of water behind the trees. The neighbors huddled together, their voices low, their eyes darting between me and the line of houses that stood like monuments to betrayal. A father stepped forward, his hands trembling. We didn't know. If we had, none of us would have moved here. Please don't take it out on us." His wife clutched his arm, her face pale with worry. I looked at them, at the children peeking from behind their parents, at the families who were tricked into this mess. My father's voice echoed in my head the way he used to say, "Land is only worth something if it keeps people safe." I lowered the key slowly, closing my fist around it. "I won't flood you. The dam was never meant to destroy, it was built to protect. But let today be a lesson: no one steals from this land without consequences." The sheriff nodded, his boots crunching against the gravel as he stepped beside me. "Karen will answer for every lie. The county will work through the mess and these families will get their shot at justice. She won't hurt anyone again." The crowd exhaled, a wave of relief spreading through them. Some even whispered thanks, though guilt still lingered in their eyes. I slipped the key back into my pocket and turned toward the dam, feeling the weight of both history and justice in my chest. My father built this valley with his hands. I defended it with mine. That's what America's supposed to mean: our land, our freedom, our fight to protect what's ours. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then, softly, a boy's voice rose from the crowd. "You saved us." I didn't answer. I just looked at the horizon, where the sun was cutting through the clouds, lighting the dam in gold. Justice wasn't loud and it wasn't easy, but it was mine. And as the last echo of Karen's screams faded into the distance, the land finally felt quiet again. Because this time the right owner still stood.